Today we are talking about a beer that exists because people actually once complained they were being given too much beer.
You serious, Clark?
I'm serious. A broken draft line, a whiskey shot that needed chasing, and one tiny bottle that accidentally became one of the most beloved beers to come out of Cincinnati. This is the wild, unlikely story of Little Kings. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the House Brewing Company YouTube channel, where today we are giving you the history of Little Kings, tasting it, and letting you know what we think. Little Kings officially launched in 1958 under the Schoenling Brewing Company, which was founded back in 1934 and brewed in the same Cincinnati facility that would later become home to Samuel Adams production. But the legend really begins at a bar north of Cincinnati. In the 1950s, one night at the old Montgomery Inn, the draft system was supposedly down, and instead of shots with a quick chaser, customers were handed full 12-ounce beers with their whiskey. Of course, people complained that was too much beer to chase a shot, and that's how the 7-ounce bottle was born. The cream ale style paired beautifully with whiskey, light, crisp, easy drinking, and this tiny little bottle actually exploded. Not actually exploded, but you know what I mean. Little Kings was eventually distributed throughout the lower 48 in the 1970s and 1980s, until in 1986, the Schoenling Brewing Company merged with local rival, Hootapole. And in the early 1990s, the brewery began contract brewing for Samuel Adams, who eventually purchased that facility in 1997 and continued contract brewing Little Kings. But as Sam Adams grew into a national powerhouse, they could no longer brew it and keep up, and Little Kings began bouncing from one contract brewer to another. Every brewer actually tweaked it just a little bit, and over time that original recipe kind of drifted further and further from what had made it special in the first place. Alright, here's the story of revival. In 2022, the Cincinnati Beverage Company bought the brand, actually pulled the former Schoenling brewmaster out of retirement, and reformulated Little Kings back to its original recipe. Today, it's once again growing the right way, now distributed in 10 states and more coming online in 2026. So that's what makes this story so special, right? Born originally from a bar problem, gets tossed around with decades of contract brewing, and now we're in the revival phase. From a broken tap line at that small Montgomery Inn to shelves across the country once again, 7 ounces at a time, let's see what this Little Kings Cream Ale is all about. All right, guys, as you know, as I so often do on the channel, I'm going to comment on the design. This is a unique one. Of course, we got the green bottle. Really, really attractive looking. I always like the paper label on a bottle. Real kind of old school, no frills design, but somehow feels modern at the same time. I like this design a lot. Green bottle gives it a little character. Little Kings with this beautiful font. It's just all around an attractive package. On the bottle itself, you have the embossed Little Kings word mark on both sides. Of course, you got the gold lid, and then you have kind of a Little King character there on the top. I'm not sure if that's like an old school marketing homage or what, but it's a pretty neat little icon. 6% alcohol by volume.
Hell yes.
All right, a little bit on the, we're getting into it. A lot of beers we try on the channel, macro style, regional style beers are somewhere between 4 and 5.2%. Little Kings gets after it at 6% alcohol by volume. So let's see what we got. Guys, this is the part of the video where we ask you to subscribe. I know you guys are loving this content. We have a lot more on the way. We do know that 70% of you guys who watch the channel are not subscribed. So commenting, subscribing is a huge, huge help to us here on the channel. You want me to drink it out of the bottle, don't you? Michael wants me to drink it out of the bottle. Go, let's grab a bottle. See, this is a little behind the scenes. This is what happens. This is what editing is all about. We'll fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. It's almost like, oh, this is great. Okay, so we have a bottle. We have it poured in the glass. We're going to try it out of the glass. We're going to try it out of the bottle. Of course, we do pour it in the glass to see how it looks. And holy cow, it is a super pale yellow color, like a really, really attractive. It almost looks watered down, but this beer is super, super light. I didn't really expect that. Even macro lagers that we taste on the channel oftentimes have a little bit of a golden appearance, whereas this is like almost colorless. It almost looks clear. It's really pretty in the glass. People watching who have had this in the bottle are probably like, I've never seen it in the glass before. What kind of an idiot pours it into the glass? You're looking at them. Solid aroma, great cream ale aroma, kind of like that cream corn character. Got some real sweet malt, very little hop character, very little fermentation character. Get that sort of like lagery yeast ferment smell here. This is an ale after all. So it smells really simple, looks really good. The foam on this beer is super dense. We don't always see that in this style of beer. Super dense, beautiful looking. That's the glass. Michael's waiting with bated breath. He's like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What do I think? Okay, first of all, don't drink it out of the glass. Second of all, very, very plain tasting. That's not a bad thing. The way that it looks, kind of almost like this colorless yellow color, lends itself to a beer that frankly has very little flavor. I do not know what to make of this beer. It's kind of confounding. I think as a chaser, it would be absolutely great. There's a shockingly small amount of flavor in this beer, and it's not a bad thing. There's just like not a lot going on. I don't know if I definitely don't dislike it, but at the same time, I don't know if I like it. It's a really strange beer. I don't think it's as good as Jenny Cream Ale. I think in the future, we're gonna try to compare this guy to the famous Genesee. Yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm barely getting any malt. I'm getting like some little bit of like alcohol flavor, a little bit of ethanol there, tiny, tiny bit of malt. Definitely no hop character. The mouthfeel and texture is really rich and full. You can tell that it's slightly on the higher end of alcohol content, but I'm kind of like speechless, guys. I don't know what to make of this. I think the packaging is the vast majority of the charm. I do wonder if bringing Schoenling back actually resulted in a recipe that was true to the original. I had higher expectations hearing that it bounced around and that recipe came back to being the old school style recipe. So you guys leave me your thoughts. What do you think? Does this match up to the old Little Kings, and am I crazy?